I think as far as loadout building, a lot of people agree that recovery is incredibly important, and I do agree as well. However, the community has learned, obviously through in-game tooltips as well as testing, that 10 recovery for some is a make or break in their loadout, and they'll sacrifice other parts of their loadout in order to make sure that they are reaching 10 recovery. But why exactly is this? Well, again, through in-game tooltips and testing, people have realized that each level of recovery, starting after I want to say 8, so level 8, 9, and 10, give some massive exponential differences compared to other levels of recovery, and surprisingly enough aren't really diminishing like most other cooldowns. As an example, in game, the difference between 9 to 10 recovery is explained as 34% faster health regen to 43% faster health regeneration. That is a 9% difference, which sounds pretty massive, especially if the game is telling you that. I don't recall in the past, as far as I know, many people or anyone that's really gone super in depth with recovery testing and looking at all the different speeds and measuring those, including myself, to be honest. So in this video, I'm going to be doing that. There's going to be a lot of numbers with the information in this video, so fair warning, and we're going to be nitpicking things like fractions of a second to compare the effectiveness of different recovery levels. I do think fractions of a second do matter because when you think of it, our weapons have a time to kill of less than a second, and as an example, hand cannons can fire 3 shots in less than a second, so I'd say it's proportionate. But if you're always looking to min-max your loadout like I am, this is information that we need to consider, even though they're just fractions of a second. And unfortunately, no, there won't be any cones in this video. Kind of taking a break from that, but we'll be back to it in next video. Before we get into the numbers, I would like to talk about today's sponsor, however, Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends has the awesome gameplay of classic turn-based RPGs, but also allows you to collect different champions and form teams with them to battle other players, bosses, and challenges. Not only is building teams with so many different champions a ton of fun, but also the graphics and artwork of Raid Shadow Legends are outstanding and definitely brings the game to life. You can play Raid solo or even team up with other players, and not to mention you can play on both mobile and PC, so there's plenty to do, lots to grind for, and ways to play. It's actually really easy to get started with Raid because you can hop into the campaign and immediately get hands-on with the gameplay and start understanding the game. It was actually crazy to see that Raid Shadow Legends actually has over 25 million downloads and over 1 million players playing every day. If you like having a home group of players to play with, there are actually over 216,000 clans created, and you can join one, of course, or create your own. There's so much content about Raid as well. There are over 1,000 videos posted per week on YouTube about Raid Shadow Legends, including guides, strategies, and lots of material to help you progress the game and champion your way through it. Raid even has an active Discord community with 87,000 players and a server with over 60 channels for you. I really like that there was actually a lot of guides and even official guides on topics like clans and even covering things like buffs and debuffs. I'm a huge fan of this, and joining a clan is pretty easy thanks to the guides available, and there are even exclusive clan rewards and clan bosses. If you check out the link in the description, you can start playing, and for new players, you'll get 100,000 silver and a free champion, Lightsworn. All your treasure will be available here in your inbox, and the champion you get, Lightsworn, is pretty crazy. He's perfect for new players because he puts in so much work and gets you well into the game really fast, and he even just looks super special awesome. Raid's tons of fun to play since it has so many activities, tons to grind for, and again, super special awesome champions. Thanks Raid for sponsoring the video. So I decided to look at the higher tiers of recovery, levels 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. No, I did not look at the lower tiers because if you're watching this video, I feel you should be in some sort of agreement that high recovery is important. I measured the speed of each recovery, and each recovery stop, I'm going to call it, with time code with seconds and frames, and I used a time code calculator to convert that to seconds entirely. I'm really hoping I converted it to seconds correctly. I'm pretty sure I did, but anyways, starting with 6 recovery, it takes 2 seconds and 40 frames, which is 2.67 seconds to start health regeneration after taking damage. It takes 4 seconds and 54 frames, which is roughly 4.9 seconds to start shield regeneration. Shields are the white part of your health bar. Your health is the red part of your health bar, is what I'm going to refer to it as. There's also a 28 frame or 0.47 second period where you're regenerating health with 6 recovery while starting your shield regeneration. I'm not sure why the lower tiers of recovery do this. I'm sure in some way it affects bleed through, so when you deal damage, it'll knock off that little bit of the shields, but since your health isn't done recovering, the remainder of the damage is going to impact the health, and since it isn't fully recovered yet, you're still going to take a fair bit of damage perhaps. I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, 6 recovery has 7 seconds and 47 frames, which is about 7.78 seconds to fully regenerate. 7 recovery takes 2 seconds and 28 frames, about 2.46 seconds, to start regenerating after damage, and takes 4 seconds and 42 frames, roughly 4.7 seconds, to start shield regeneration. There's a 22 frame or 0.37 second period of time where you'll be regenerating health still, even though you've started regenerating shields with 7 recovery, and the complete regeneration time is 7 seconds and 24 frames, or 7.4 seconds to fully heal. 8 recovery takes 2 seconds and 16 frames, roughly 2.27 seconds, to start regenerating at all after taking damage. And this takes 4 seconds and 30 frames, or 4.5 seconds, to start shield regeneration, but still has a very small period of time of 8 frames, or 0.13 seconds, of regenerating health while starting your shield regeneration. And in total, it takes 7 seconds to fully regenerate your health and shields with a recovery. At 9 recovery, it takes 2 seconds and 6 frames, so about 2.1 seconds, to start regeneration after taking damage, and it takes 4 seconds and 18 frames, so 4.3 seconds, to start shield regeneration. And 9 recovery no longer has that overlap period where you're recovering both health and shields at the same time anymore. Instead, it just very quickly starts to regenerate your shields after being done with your health. And to recover the health bar itself, it actually takes 4 seconds and 12 frames, so about 4.2 seconds to get to that full health or red bar portion, but it then does have a 6 frame delay, so about 0.1 second delay to start shield regeneration after completing the health regeneration portion. It actually takes 2 seconds and 18 frames, about 2.3 seconds, to regenerate the shield portion, the white bar alone, and the total time it takes to fully regenerate is 6 seconds and 36 frames, aka 6.6 seconds. Finally, at 10 recovery, it takes 1 second and 45 frames, about 1.75 seconds, to start regeneration after taking damage, and it takes 4 seconds to start your shield regeneration. It takes 3 seconds and 36 frames, about 3.6 seconds, to fully regenerate your health bar, which means there's actually a 24 frame delay, a 0.4 second delay to starting your shield regeneration at 10 recovery. And it takes 2 seconds to regenerate that shield portion or white bar portion alone, giving us a total regeneration time of 6 seconds to fully regenerate. I think the biggest piece of discussion here is really going to be 9 versus 10 recovery. A lot of people, like I said, are speccing for 10 recovery and prioritizing that above pretty much everything else in their loadout. I get asked pretty often, especially since the targeting mod video, is it worth losing that 1 tier of recovery and going to 9 instead of 10 to invest in something else? So let's talk about the difference here. Between 9 and 10 recovery, there's a 0.35 second difference in time to starting and regenerating health after taking damage. There is a 0.6 second difference in time to fully regenerate the health bar, the red portion. There's a 0.3 second difference in time until the shields start recovering. And there's a 0.3 second period of time where 10 recovery has started shield regeneration, but 9 is still finishing and reaching the shield regeneration portion. And overall, there is a 0.6 second difference in time to fully regenerate your health and shields completely. So of course this is a lot of numbers to process, but let's talk about what it means. 10 recovery recovers health sooner, but has a 0.4 second delay until it actually starts your shield regeneration afterwards, while 9 recovery takes longer to heal fully and even just the red health portion alone, but it barely has any delay, 0.1 seconds, to start shield regen after finishing your health. And I'd even argue that 9 recovery is almost more intuitive, as it recovers your health and shields in one fluid and constant rate, where 10 can give you the illusion of regenerating quickly, but the halt could catch you at a lower health than maybe you're anticipating before re-engaging. It's a bit weird. In the majority of scenarios between 9 and 10 recovery, there's roughly a 0.3 second difference in regeneration speeds and hitting each important area of the health and shields bar. I've set a rule for myself personally that anything below 0.4 seconds isn't quite enough of a difference for me, as that's the time it takes a 150 hand cannon to fire 2 shots. And yes, there are other weapons, but 150 hand cannons are highly represented and have the best mix of rate of fire and high damage output that would be impactful. With this personal rule I've set myself, although it's very on paper and not the most indicative of in-game scenarios, it would be near impossible to test and recreate every common scenario and variation of when you're being hit while regenerating, as well as the damage that you'd be taking or is dealt to you. I still think it's somewhat a decent marker to set for myself in what I value. As a result of this, however, many of the differences in time between 9 and 10 recovery become far less significant, with only the time to fully regenerate health, the red bar, and then fully regenerate health and shields, the entire bar, being the biggest factors. I'd argue that the time it takes to regenerate the shields portion, while of course is still important, is largely not as important as you may assume. I feel that intuitively in a game, once you've gotten to the point where you're regenerating shields, you're already going to start moving a bit and potentially even re-engaging. The feeling of quote-unquote I'm weak, in danger, or at risk is somewhat lost once your shields begin regenerating, and rightfully so, because it only takes about 2 seconds for that portion to fully regen anyways. This means that the bulk of our time when out of the fight and recovering is actually spent waiting to get to the point where our shields start to regenerate. Less about our health hitting full and less about hitting full shields. Again, the difference between the time it takes to start shield regeneration is only 0.3 seconds because of the massive 0.4 second pause 10 recovery takes after hitting full health way quicker, which isn't much of a difference, and like I said, it's a bit more intuitive with the constant recovery rate of 9 recovery. 10 recovery does, however, get you to full health and shield 0.6 seconds faster. That's over half a second, which I'd think is a reasonable difference to consider. I'm positive that this difference in regeneration speed overall could lead to quote-unquote edging out with barely any health in some engagements after trying to recover. That would be probably hard to notice. So yes, 10 recovery is definitely a strong option and always will be. However, for the reasons I mentioned previously, 9 recovery would appear to be a very competitive option, and if you're looking to truly min-max your entire loadout, including other ability cooldowns, stats, or even weapon performance through targeting and unflinching mods, you aren't particularly missing out on too much by sacrificing that point of recovery to invest in something else you feel is worthwhile with your loadout. Well, there you have it. That's my breakdown on recovery, and it looks like 9, in my opinion, is a very competitive option. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did and you'd like to see more content like this, you can check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Drewskys. I stream pretty much every day. I hope to see you there, but otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.